This is Studio One for the colored pencil. This is your minimal candy drawing. So your prompt is to create a realistic full value and color drawing of a piece of candy. It should be a little larger than actual size, and you can use one of the provided reference photos or a similar piece of actual wrapped candy. I would suggest you take a photograph of it in case you give in to temptation. This is a 2-day observational drawing, and if you work just a little larger than the actual size, it's a little bit easier than if you're trying to do this very small. If you want to work and make your candy, larger, like fill up the page, that's fine too. Remember with colored pencils though, that you have to go slow. Really pay attention to values and details and colors. And here you're seeing an example. This is by a professional colored pencil artist. And it's obviously a Twix bar, but it doesn't have to be unwrapped. You can have it wrapped up, you could have it unwrapped, you could have it partially. That's up to you. But notice how it's not just colored in with the plain colors of the wrapping. There is a lot of shading and value work in here and lines and textures to get all those reflections in there. So to start your minimal candy drawing, I have some resource photos up. You're going to need your colored pencils, a regular pencil, an eraser, a sharpener. There's an option to add some watercolor to it if you have them handy, and your Chromebook so you can see. Now you start off by creating a light line drawing of the candy. My example's on the next slide. If you are really concerned about being super precise, you can use the linked grid drawing tool. This is what that looks like, and at the top you can see where you just start. Step 1, you upload the image from your computer, and then you can rotate it and crop it if you want to, or adjust it, lightness, darkness, whatever editing, and then you apply the grid to it. If you have a printer, you can download and print it, or you can just view your image like this. And how you use a grid, if you don't know, you would divide your paper into a similar grid, and then you know that, okay, here in this section, this is about where this starts and it ends, and you would just draw this section, and then you would go over and draw this section, and then this section. It's an easier way to get proportion and to make sure that things are exactly where you want them to be. Okay, there is that's a free-handed drawing. I did not use a grid of the Mounds bar. And I free-handed it simply because I'm behind on making tutorials and I'm trying to get things finished and up there so you can at least have a hint. After you have your free-handed line drawing, and notice I did not put on all the little words. I have areas where those little tiny words go. The name of the candy was important, so I put that on there. But the other areas, like up here it says Peter Paul, here it says dark chocolate, and then all the ingredients and whatnot are on the side. And I've just kind of left those blank. Okay, you can just kind of indicate writing later, but you don't need to take forever printing out all those little things. So when you're ready to start putting in your base colors, look at your base colors. In the example, I started by coloring the M brown. And then just like we did with the texture exercises on the spheres, I went back and I added lights and darks. There's some black over here, there's a little red over here, and some white to kind of create different kinds of values. Remember, use colors beside what the main color is. In these beginning red areas, you can kind of see where the color varieties are. There is orange, there's 2 different values of red, There's some violet, some purple. That's where the reflection was hitting on that wrapper. There's black, and then there's brown as well. And just, you would go through at this point and do your whole entire candy or wrapper in the colored pencil. And then the third thing that you can do, and again, I did this before I finished the whole drawing, you can add watercolor on top of your colored pencil areas to help blend it, and white acrylic to bring out highlights. So what I did here is I went over the red areas with red watercolor paint, and you can see how it kind of helps to smooth that down and make it not so choppy while still preserving the values. The same thing I did with the brown. And then I took just a little bit of white and put it on where the creases in that cellophane wrapper are catching the light. Again, go slow, take your time, build up layers. This doesn't have to be a large drawing, but it does have to be a good drawing. So these are some examples that I'm going to show you. These two are, they're not our school, they're from a different high school. Same exercise. You have the Kit Kat. And see, they kind of did the writing on the side, but it's not exact. So again, you really don't need to worry about that. You could simplify that, but your logo, your brand name is important. And here's the Skittles. Hershey's Kiss. The Kiss part itself is probably an easier thing to do, but the folded and twisted aluminum wrapper is not. And a gummy bear. This are some examples from the artist Marcello Bergani. He's Italian, and he is one of the best photorealistic colored pencil artists today. There were examples of his work in some of the other slides that you've seen or will see in minimalism. And he likes to show you the inside of the candy as well. That's a little bit more challenging to have it broken up, so you see that. But if you want to try that, you can certainly do that. And then the wrappers, one of the key things to all of the wrappers that you've seen is those reflections. Just like you did with the drawing boot camp when we did cloth and then we did the still life, make sure that you have those areas of really bright white highlights as well as really, really dark cast shadows. And that's what's going to make it dimensional. Okay, so pick out your resource picture or take a photograph and get started. You have 2 days to work on this. When you're finished, photograph it and upload.